is the concept of lying there. It was carefully placed. It was unmoved, undisturbed. Not what you expect. It's like entering this room and expecting a coffin, an open coffin, and all of a sudden you don't see the body, and the only thing that you see is the clothes lying there. And John was just perplexed. The clothes that was neatly laid, just lying there. So unusual. Because if it's a robbery, it should be an empty thing. Nothing should be there. Verse 6. And so Simon Peter also came, following him, and he entered the tomb. Very Simon Peter, right? He just rushed in and entered the tomb. Remember when Jesus wanted to wash their feet? I think John chapter 10 or 10. Right? Lord, don't wash my feet. If I can't wash your feet, then you cannot be part of me. If that's okay, give me a shower. I think that's what this. Right? And when they were trying to arrest Jesus, what did Peter do? He got his knife or sword and cut the ear. It's very emotional, right? This Peter guy. And here, without caring, what does he do? He rushes in, and what did he see? And so Simon Peter also came, following him, and entered the tomb. And he saw the linen wrappings laying there. Unlike John, who just stayed out and peeped, what Peter did is he entered. And what did he do? He saw. The word saw there was a different saw, a different word. It was not blepa. It was theorio. What that means is he theorized. He entered there into the room, not just simply glancing. He looked intently and he observed. He was scrutinizing. He was like the Soko. The Soko? They enter and they scrutinize. That's the same word. Theorio. He was trying to come up with a theory. Theorio. What happened here? He was observing intently. Di ba si John? He was just looking at it he was just glancing at it. But Peter, no, he was observing it intently. Because of that, he noticed something that John did not notice. In verse 7. The face cloth. And the face cloth which has been on his head, not laying with the linen wrappings, but rolled up in the place by itself. What? Peter noticed that. The linen wrapping was just depressed, yet the face cloth was wrapped as if made a mess. And he was wondering to himself, what could have happened here? Everything was in order. Everything was pristine. The disciples was not expecting Jesus to rise from the dead. They were not expecting that really. In John chapter 2:19, and I'll just read it. Jesus said to them, destroy this temple, in 3 days I will raise it up. So when he was raised from the dead, his disciples remembered that he said this, and they believed the scriptures and the word which Jesus has spoken. In Matthew 12, it says, for just as Jonah was there for 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of the sea monster, so will the Son of Man be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. The disciples, there's a lot of passages wherein Jesus was telling the disciples, I will be put to death and I will raise on the third day. But for some reason, the disciples cannot go past the thought of Jesus Christ dying. They could not pick up the concept that He will be raised again from the dead. There was no doubt. Jesus mentioned it over and over again. Not only did Jesus say that I will rise from the dead, He called the day. Yun si MacArthur magaling. Diba? I shall return. When? Basta, I shall return. That's a great promise of MacArthur. But Jesus made a call. I will rise up, mark my word, 3 days. He called it. In fact, during the Last Supper, Jesus again mentioned to them that after I've been raised from the dead, go to Galilee. I'll meet you there. That was just the night before He was put to death. And yet, the disciples could not remember. Peter could not connect it. They should have known. They should have anticipated it. What they heard, they should have heeded it. Yet, it was all blank to them. It was not connecting. And I realized that a lot of us were the same. We like to believe certain things that are convenient to us, that it's okay for us. But on certain things that are not convenient, that are not good, that are not aligned to what we want in our life, we choose not to believe it. It's what they call selective hearing. Hearing and agreeing only the things that we want to hear. But on the things that we don't agree, we just brush it aside. So there were 2 men. Verse 8 says, So the other disciples who had first come to the tomb then also entered, and he saw and believed. That was John. Initially, we saw, right? John did not enter, he just peeped. He saw the linen. Peter entered, he saw the linen and he saw the head coverings. Now John enters the tomb. A lot of times, we see things but we don't perceive. A lot of times, we see the facts but we don't know how it all connects. Alam mo, uso yan sa Bible eh. A lot of times people, they read the Bible like, hindi, yung telephone book. Yung telephone directory, I don't know kung uso pa yan. Dati meron yung yellow pages, right? They flip and they read. They flip and try to get a novel. Try to do that. Read and flip and read and let's see if you understand the novel. You're not, right? So here, things are not connecting. A lot of times, things seems not connecting. But here we see John. Not the word again, when the word here again, and he saw was a different word. A different seeing. He was now perceiving. He was now observing like Peter. He was now trying to understand what is happening here. I see the cloth. I see the face cover. I see everything was pristine. For sure there's no robbers here, because if there's robbers here, first the cloth will not be here and everything will be a mess. Something is happening here. that all of a sudden, for John, it clicked. All of a sudden, John realized, wait a minute, the body was not stolen. He went there to the cave with the assumption that the body was stolen, according to the story of Mary Magdalene. When he went there, he looked and he made a glance and saw the linen there. But when he took a second look, when he entered, he realized slowly, as he was looking at everything, as he was trying to connect the dots, he realized that the body was not stolen. The body was raised from the dead. He is alive. John got it. He is alive. He was raised from the dead. And that empty tomb has a message. It says to the people in science and philosophy, explain that empty tomb. It says to the people in history, repeat that event. It says to time, blot out that event. But it says to us, believe in that event. Believe. When John saw this, observed this, understood it, he concluded that it was not stolen, but Jesus rose from the dead as he promised. And that gave him deep assurance. That solidified his conviction. He believes now the words of Christ ever deeper. That he is the Son of God. That he is really the real Messiah. That he is the Lord of glory. And it cast out any doubt in his mind, any concern. Because he believes, he now stands fully secured with the faith that he has. With the faith that started 3 years ago when God called him to leave his net, to leave his business, to leave his family, to leave his home. Everything was not for naught. Because Christ was raised from the dead. He understands. He sees. He discerns, and now he believes. All of a sudden, this combination of things caused something in John to open his spiritual eyes. A lot of the concept of John kasi, John keeps on saying, a lot of people, before they believe, they want to see. Right? In John chapter 2, a lot of people were following Christ. Why? They saw the signs. In fact, they were following Christ because of the signs. Unless there was any sign, they would not believe. In fact, in John chapter 6, verse 30, it says, they said to him, what then do you do for a sign that we may see and believe you? They were telling Jesus, if you want us to believe, make a miracle. If we don't see any sign, we will not believe. The sad part, at the end of Jesus' ministry, what did he say? John chapter 12:37 says, "But though he had performed so many signs before them, yet they were